Welcome to Sports Quotes and Facts Untold. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, TNS captain Chris Marriott. Chris, you've just won your 11th league title with the club. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's you never get bored of obviously winning things. So it's a feeling and something you shouldn't take for granted. So every time I do win a title or a medal, it's something to try and enjoy as much as you can at the time.
Yeah, and you actually joined the club 14 years ago. Did you ever expect to be there that long and have the level of success that you've had?
No, obviously, it was just a short one year deal all those years ago that I signed, and it was just about taking the opportunity at the time. I was only 19, so naive and just definitely didn't think in the long term back then. It was definitely a short term thing, and just see where that season took me. Then obviously it's all rolled into one big, huge 14-year stint. So, but I've enjoyed my time. It's been great.
Yeah, and you started your career actually in the Wrexham Academy. You're from the Wirral originally. Did that stand you in good stead for the career you've gone on to have?
Yeah, brilliant. Worked under some absolutely fantastic role models at Wrexham. Gone on to have really good coaching careers in the game. Steve Cooper, he's managing in the Premier League now. He was my youth team manager. So he was someone who got on really well with. Joey Jones, absolute legend in the game, won European Cups. He was also day to day with him as well, and numerous other people I can mention as well. But those two really stick out. Obviously, helped me a lot, and it was a great place to grounded me really well, and on and off the pitch. So I was there from when I was 14 till I was 19. So I signed a 1-year pro there as well. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. Wrexham were going through a lot of problems at the time off the pitch, which was a shame. Which probably did affect the youth's growth for the time. But everything happens for a reason. I've had a great time at TNS, so it's been good to me.
Yeah, and as you say, you started with TNS when you were only 19. Your debut was actually in Iceland, in Reykjavik. Did that feel like you were being thrown into the deep end? And how did you deal with that? Did you just thrive off the experience, really?
Yeah, well, I remember again, probably going back to being a bit naive and young, and I was on the bench that day. I was absolutely fuming at the time. I thought I should have been starting, but I was on the bench, which probably was a good decision in the end. But I come on as a sub in the first leg away, and then I started in the second leg. So yeah, I was a bit nervous. Obviously, it's a completely different occasion to what you used to playing sort of reserve football at Wrexham. So straight into a European game, which is obviously TNS's most important game of the season. So yeah, it was but all those experiences have stacked up to where I am now, and they've helped me along the way.
Yeah, and now 14 years later, you'll face BK Hacken in the first qualifying round of the Champions League. What will the next few weeks consist of, Chris, just in terms of the preparations for that?
Yeah, going well. Just training hard, keeping our heads down, getting ourselves right first before we sort of start worrying about them. I think that's really important. Yeah, going well. Went to Ireland last week. That was a good, had 3 games in 3 days, so that was quite intense. But good for fitness, good for team bonding, all the usual stuff, that most teams do in pre-season. So, it's going well at the moment. Yeah, a couple more weeks to go.
Yeah, and obviously you've been at the club a very long time, but for some of the newer lads that join the team, is starting the season so early quite difficult for them? And have you found yourself, that's your routine now, that you're used to starting the campaign this early?
Yeah, it is. And probably, as you say, new lads coming into the club just aren't used to it. They're used to having sort of two months off, where we're used to getting 3-4 weeks off. But yeah, I've definitely become used to it. I think I'm pretty strange to myself if I started having 2 months off. So I'm definitely, probably 4 weeks is probably enough for me now. Because I'm probably so used to it over the years.
And winning the title in Wales, you are playing some like real big names, storied names in football. You've played the likes of Anderlecht, Legia Warsaw, Midtjylland, Slovan Bratislava. What's it like, getting to experience these big away games when there's so much at stake for the club as well?
Right, it's unbelievable, and obviously money can't buy them experiences, can it? Which it's so lucky to get those experiences. And yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, Legia Warsaw has probably been the best one for me. Their fans are absolutely unbelievable. I've never heard nothing like it. The noise from them, it was amazing. So yeah, it's especially as you're getting older, like I am now as well. You've got to really enjoy the moments because you never know, it might be your last.
Yeah, I remember going down to TNS for one of your qualifiers. It was against Ferronikeli from Kosovo. It's a difficult one to say. When Yeah, when you face a team like that, which they're probably unknowns to a lot of people, how do you prepare for that, and how does the management team prepare? I know that you have a few weeks after the draw, but is that quite difficult because you need to learn about, you play left back or centre back, you need to learn about the striker or the right winger. Is that quite difficult? Are you sort of going into the unknown at times?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, especially all European games really, because obviously the Welsh league, you're just so used to playing the same players all the time. So you just know each other inside out. So that's another thing that really makes Europe really difficult, because you really don't know until you get into the game how actually good the opposition is. So you're completely out your comfort zone really. You sort of first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the game, you're just sort of trying to feel each other out really. So that's a real strange experience when you're not used to it. So yeah, it's tough. Obviously, we're lucky at TNS. We've got a lot of staff who do a lot of research into opposing teams and players. So we are lucky as players because we don't do much. We just get the information given to us on a plate. So we're lucky in that sense. But yeah, you still don't know. You can read and watch as much as you want, but until you get onto that pitch with someone, you just don't know how good they're going to be, do you? So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, and of the 10 Champions League game, and then the other games that you play in Europe, when TNS might drop into like Europa League qualifying, and now there's the Conference League as well. Obviously, Champions League, everybody thinks of like the glitz and glamour. What have some of the facilities been like? Are they all really good standard, or are some not so great?
No, it varies. It varies. You might have some. We played at some really old grounds and old facilities. But still, I don't know, they just still seem so good because obviously it's something different in a different country. It's some of them have real historic grounds, so it's good. They might not be the most modern, some of them, but they're still amazing. And playing in grounds in different countries, they're really different to the ones here. So it's it's something to keep you excited on your toes.
Yeah. And when you do make these trips, Chris, do the team have a chance to actually like see the places that you play and experience the culture, or is it very much, business, to play the game and then leave again?
Yeah, you might get the odd, spare hour or two just to sort of go out and have a look around the local town. Just depends where you are really. There's been places where we've been that have been, really close, and we could be able to go in, and some you just literally in your hotel and sort of getting ready for the game, preparing that way. So it does vary really depending on where you get, because we do get some strange places that we travel to. So it all depends on the luck of the draw, to be honest.
Yeah. And obviously you're facing, fellow champions from around Europe. So it's a really tough ask for teams at that level. You've got a lot of levels to get through. But how does it feel when the group stages come round? TNS are yet to make that jump. But when you see the likes of Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Erling Haaland, how does it feel for you as a fellow professional to know that you're in the same tournament as them, just at an earlier stage?
Yeah, it's obviously it's quite surreal, isn't it? Obviously playing in a tournament, obviously completely in the early stages compared to some of the giants, but it's quite surreal, really. Strange, especially when you watch on telly and stuff. But obviously, in the past years, we've never got the group stage, but there has been teams, obviously. There's been teams that are not far from our sort of level that have gone into the group stage, so we know it's definitely not impossible. That's the vision of the club, especially the chairman, Mike. Obviously, his aim has always been to get into Europe, and with the new format as well, it gives us a really good chance. Obviously, we have to win the first games to get guaranteed a game at getting into the Europa Conference group stages. So yeah, that's that's the aim. Obviously, it all depends on the luck of the draw. I do think we've had a really tough draw compared to the games you could have got in this one, but it is what it is, isn't it? If you want to get there, you're going to have to beat some very good teams. So you just got to go and try and do it.
Yeah. And just from memory, Chris, who are some of the hardest opponents that you faced in Europe?
I'd say Warsaw were a very good team, especially with the fans added into that. That made it really hostile when we played them away. Anderlecht were a different level. They were amazing at the time. They had some great players for them. We went on to even bigger teams than Anderlecht. They were a very, very good team. That was an unbelievable experience. I'd say Ludogorets are not probably a massively recognised team, but they're a very, very good team. Very dynamic, very quick, especially for a fullback for myself to wingers were absolute flying machines, and they played the whole foot so early and direct. It was really hard to deal with. So I'd say they were the top of the order, under my experience personally. So yeah, I'd say them three.
Yeah. And you mentioned before, Chris, that with these games with some of the lesser known clubs, you're having to basically feel each other out. Is it a very, very different sort of game management to your Welsh Premier?
Yeah, it's like playing a different game altogether. Yeah, completely different. Yeah, I'd say it's so much more tactical when you're playing in Europe. Both teams have sort of different game plans and what they want to get out of the game, especially when you bring in the home and away legs. So yeah, it's a completely different element to the Welsh League when, as I said, everyone knows each other inside out. So it brings a completely different element, and so much more goes into it.
Yeah, and you've been captain of TNS now, Chris. As you said, you've been there for such a long time now. You are the captain. How does that feel, leading the team out in these European fixtures?
Yeah, proud. Really proud. I think I'm the captain by default because I've been there that long, but I'll take it anyway. You're proud, isn't it? It's great experiences, and as I said previously, things like that, money just can't buy. So it's you've earned it, you got yourself there, and you've just got to enjoy it when it comes. And that's what I try my best to do, just sort of take it in. Because I think when you're a player, you don't take much. You don't take many things in. You just you're very just in the present, aren't you, and just bowling along. But I think as you get that little bit older, try your best just to take things in and enjoy them.
Yeah. Obviously, Chris, football at the level that you're playing at, it's all about winning. You said that, the experiences you've had have been great for your career. Do you try and, as captain, get that message across to some of the younger players? We need to win here, but, take all this in, take in the experience, take in the fans and the sort of the opportunity to go abroad and play football?
Yeah, I think you try your best and you just try and sort of set those standards, every day, and sort of make people realise what they've actually got. Because I think as a young lad, you don't, do you? You just take it for granted, and I certainly did, and I'm sure that the young lads do now because they're just young lads. But yeah, I think it's important. You see everyone when you get to the grounds, their eyes light up, and there is a bit of a change in the energy. Obviously, everyone picks up a little bit because it is so exciting playing in Europe. So, you've just got to sort of make it, but also make sure that the occasion doesn't get the better of you. You're sort of there for a day out because obviously. We're there to get a result and progress as best we can. Yeah,
and obviously, Chris, TNS are there pretty much every year, so there isn't the novelty of it. But do the team get together for the draw? How does that go, or is it very much just business as usual? You're training, and then you see who you're playing.
Yeah, we got together today for the draw. We were in Ireland in the hotel, so just worked out. We were all together, so that was fine. And I think most of the time over the years we have watched it together. It just depends where we are. If it's an off day, an in day. Things like that, but yeah, we do. If we're there, we will watch it together.
Yeah, and just to talk just briefly, Chris, about your league success as well. There are lots of clubs around Europe. Bayern Munich. You've got Man City in England that have won titles year after year, and TNS are another of those. What is the mentality like within the squad to just keep winning?
Yeah, just a really good group of honest lads. You need, to keep on bowling along, and it's a strange mentality to have because I think once you've won something, it's sort of the next day it's forgotten about, and you're sort of going on to the next thing really. So you don't really over celebrate things. To be honest, it's pretty boring in a way because you don't really go mad about anything because we've been there, done it for so long. It's just a normal thing. So. I think that's part of the winning mentality, and I'm sure a lot of clubs are the same. That at levels where they win all the time, they don't go completely nuts for days and days on end. They're just sort of a bit of a night out, and you're back to work the next day, and you think about the next goal was Europe now.
And for people that maybe haven't watched TNS, Chris, what's your sort of style of play, and have you seen it develop over the years? Were you like once a long ball team maybe, and now playing in Europe, you might pass it around? What's the style been like during your time there?
Yeah, since I got there, it's complete, football passing team. When I first got there, and it was a real attractive style of play. And teams couldn't handle that, and then sometimes teams get sort of used to it, don't they, and find a way to counteract it. I think when Craig come in his first stint as manager, our current manager now, he's back now in his second stint, but in his first stint, I think he brought an element of toughness and being able to play a slightly different way when we needed to, which I think took us to the next level. Just being that little bit more, getting the ball forward a little bit quicker in a more positive way rather than teams sort of getting on top of us. So I feel like that's helped us. And I think over the last couple of years, we maybe got a couple more players that suited to playing a different way. So it gives us a nice balance around the squad that we can play a number of ways, which is going to help us a lot in Europe.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask as well about, so you've won so many titles, but there were a few years back when you didn't win the title. What was that like for you personally and for the club? Because you've got so accustomed to being top dogs. What was that like, and did it give you like more fire in the belly to come back stronger?
Yeah. I think maybe we took it for granted a little bit that we were going to turn up and win the league, and that was for 2 years and on the bounce against Connors won the league, which is a massive upset really, and as you say, definitely give a little bit more fire in the belly, and to get it back what you've lost, and it was tough, but I think it's helped us as well to come back stronger, which we have, I think.
Yeah. And just to look ahead, Chris, so you've played all these Champions League qualifiers. Just say that TNS were to be successful and reach the group stage. What would be your personal preference for 3 other sides in a group with TNS?
Oh, well, I'll be gutted because Liverpool have been the first one on it this year, so that'd be a killer, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You'd have to go there. Gotta be Barcelona or Real Madrid, hasn't it?
Yeah. So
I'd have to pick one of the Spanish giants. Bayern Munich, throw them in there. There's 2. We need one more, don't we? United,
yeah, that'll be a good one. Yeah, that'll be a very good one for you. And just finally, Chris, we've seen the Conference League. West Ham United hadn't won a trophy for about 43 years. That league is, a real benefit for, as you mentioned earlier in the interview, Chris, for clubs like TNS. When you're winning the league so consistently, you should be rewarded really with proper European football, where you can face fellow champions.
Yeah, it's a really good format, I think. As you say, it gives people like us a really good opportunity to, more achievable, isn't it, of European football. And as you said, with West Ham, look at them. Obviously, it's nothing better than winning trophies, is there? To give them the opportunity to do that. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And I think it gives, obviously, us a much better chance of achieving that, whether it's this year, next year, whenever, just as long as it stays. I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah. Right. Cheers, Chris. That was absolutely great. Thanks for joining us, and good luck for the Hacken game.